a sad head nod like this.
Yeah.
Just kind of like
Big Abe Lincoln. Big
Yeah,
Abe
boy.
Lincoln.
we still them boys. Still them boys. Still them boys.
Big Abe Lincoln.
Have you guys ever seen that format of a meme when it's like just the picture of Brock Purdy's head and it's like him sticking in like in the corner? It's like just checking if you're still them boys. Have you guys ever seen that
No, I
one?
haven't.
No, and I don't like it.
It's such an overused meme format, and I haven't actually seen it yet from Brock Purdy, but now that I mentioned it, Instagram's probably going to force me to see
yeah.
it. Anyways, how's it going, fellas? This is our first official off-season Cowboys podcast of 2023. And we're still going to be doing that, baby. We're still going to be. You know what? Fuck it. You're right. Let me get one in there too. Crack 'em if you got 'em, son.
I was pretty down, and the last time I remember feeling like this, oddly enough, wasn't last year because I guess expectations were lower. Although the loss was a killer because of how the game ended.
Yeah, the way they lost in 2021, there was that hope.
Yeah.
Like there was legit hope. When
And it just sucks to lose on, you didn't get the ball.
You didn't get the ball. Unlike this year, how we lost.
The last time I remember feeling that like this was when I think it was 2012 or 2013 when the Vancouver Canucks were up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then and then they ended up losing like 4-3 or something like that. So and that's when I stopped watching hockey.
Yeah, it gutted you. It gutted you that bad.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Same Monday. I had the Monday morning blues. And not even so much. I was kind of. I'll say it. I was kind of expecting it a little bit, just because it's happened so many times. I was kind of bracing for it. I'm more bummed out about not having our Sunday live stream stuff, because I look forward to that each week. I look forward to the Cowboys games. I look forward to coming here.
Sure.
And, 6 hours of drinking and talking to people in chat and watching Cowboys football. That's what I think is more depressing, that part is gone.
Yeah, I that you and I said that both as like, oh, we're not gonna have to. We got the towels cleaned or some bullshit. Like it just feels like we were getting in such a rhythm with the live stream of the show day, like the game days.
He's not lying.
Yeah,
For audio listeners, we do have a bunch of towels from the games we've gone to, and Bandwagon Baba cleaned them for us.
She washed them. They're not sticky.
But we still pull up our pants, and we do it because of fans like Tiana Ellis in the chat saying, "You guys are becoming my new fave Cowboys channel. Keep up the great work."
Hey, appreciate it.
And just one thing, because we're all probably getting it. Cowboys fans dish it out. They can take it too. We put ourselves in a bit of a spotlight online by putting out memes. We also put out things that kind of attack other teams in a comical way. Usually it's friendly. Sometimes it's misinterpreted as violence.
Dude, the video last week, there's still people right now on @CowboysCanFan Instagram. It's getting flooded by Niners saying, "Oh, mental breakdown. How's that feel?" Like, you wish to. It's like, man, literally 5 minutes before that clip happened, we were talking about how we thought San Francisco was the best team left in the postseason.
We clipped ourselves.
Yeah, we clipped it. But you know what? Obviously, that was the right clip. It brought traffic. Sure, it's the negative traffic. And as we've experienced as Cowboys fans, the negative's always going to outweigh the positive. You're always going to get a way bigger reaction when the Cowboys lose, or Dak Prescott has a bad game, or Ezekiel Elliott would fumble, or someone gives up a big play. You're always going to get a bigger reaction from everyone else in a situation like that. And like you said, we put ourselves out there, and we'll take it, baby. We'll take it.
I had to step away on Monday. Basically, all of Monday, I stepped away from social media, and then I came back. Is it Tuesday?
Reeled you back in. I kind of Monday night kind of for me.
It did feel weird without.
It did
the post game conversations that we usually have, because you get into that routine. So like when one of us is like taking a mental health day, and I don't say that in like a joking manner,
and not like a Brock Purdy way. Don't, Adam. Don't bring that up.
I actually wasn't even meaning the Brock Purdy.
No. Some of it was at work too, but I just felt like, I can't fill my head with this right now.
Oh gosh.
Yep.
Definitely.
It's
It's the pointless thing, and you think about it. It's just like, we got 6 months to talk about everything we want to talk about the next day.
Lots to talk about today. I have one last thing I want to say about this. I said to add before we went on, like this morning, I'm laying in bed before I go to work. It's like 5:30 in the morning. You know, you're looking through the at Cowboys Can Fan Instagram, the at Cowboys Can Fan on YouTube. I'm looking through the comments and I start getting into it with some guys, and I'm like, what am I doing? I honestly, there's just no point. San Fran's going on to play against the Eagles in probably the worst possible matchup that for me. Like, I honestly could give two shits about San Fran playing the Eagles because I'm not happy with either of them winning. So I'm putting all my last hope into the Bengals.
Me too.
That's who I'm gonna. I hope the Bengals, whoever they end up, I hope they
roar in that jungle Bengals.
Yeah, I hope they end up just slaughtering whatever NFC team ends up making to the big game, the Super Bowl.
Well, I did say that if I went to some Eagle fans that were trolling me in IRL, and I said, we basically gave you the recipe on how to beat the San Francisco 49ers or how to keep them under 19 points. And I said, the Eagles arguably have
just as good a defense.
Just as good as a defense, and they possibly have a quarterback that can put some tuggies in there. So,
and it's funny that you say that, and we're going to get into the San Fran game a little bit here before the fallout that AJ has. Just looking at, there was the one play of Dak's interception where he threw it to the double covered CD Lamb, I believe it was. And they show it from like the all 22 view, and he has so much room to run.
CD?
No, Dak. Instead of throwing the ball, he could have just taken off up the middle. And Jalen Hurts, without a doubt, is doing that. So it's just the Eagles are pretty much primed to beat. Let's say it. Who do you guys think is going to win out of those guys?
I think the Eagles have too much momentum on both sides of the balls. I mean, because I feel and the balls because I don't feel like the Cowboys played a real strong offensive game. And we still got 12 points with a missed extra point.
Yeah, and an interception in the red zone.
Red zone, and so let's just say, that adds we could have easily scored 20 points in that game and not have played very good offense. So I think the Eagles are going to come out there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they score 2 touchdowns a quarter.
I mean,
they've been playing like that.
They have been. They dismantled the Giants. I do think the Eagles are probably the better team after watching, like Ad said, the Cowboys defense against the 49ers. But AJ, you got this article up, and this is pretty much instant fallout a little bit here.
It is, and I can't get rid of this fucking... Oh, there
close there on the bottom. So this article AJ has up here, report Cowboys linebackers coach George Edwards and running backs coach Skip Pete not returning. So there's already by our guy RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys. So that's instant fallout, man.
I wonder, I don't know enough. Where did these guys come from? Did they come in with Mike McCarthy? Did they come in with Kellen Moore?
Skip's been around for a while. I don't know much about George Edwards, but Skip Pete has been around he's been a Cowboys coach for a while. I think this is his second time with the Cowboys. But if you think about our positions, linebacker and running back were probably our most, kind of our weakest parts a little bit at points of the season. Our running game pretty much went stagnant these last little bit. When was the last time we had an explosion from the running backs? Against the Colts, maybe?
Yeah.
They did not, granted, TP20 broke his leg, which that sucks, but TP20 broke his leg in the game against the Niners, but our run game was just kind of non-existent.
I think a lot of it obviously had to do with if you rated the first half of the season compared to the last half and include those playoff games. Playoffs. Two totally different styles of running. We were talking about both potentially Zeke and Tony getting 1,000 yards. Tony ended up getting 1,000 yards. So things were looking good. It seems a little surprising that they would get rid of the running back coach because, Zeke, something happened to Zeke, I think. Maybe that's going to come out later, but his play completely shifted. I don't remember the game.
Fell off.
And Tony Pollard, he wasn't, I don't know if he's a true number 1 3-down back. It's a lot to carry. Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of carries. So I'm a little shocked about the running back. Not shocked, but I mean, I didn't know who the guy was, but I don't think that was a problem. Linebacker makes sense.
With saying that, there's a little bit of news with Zeke. Oh, Nate Dogg's in the house. Fuck the Niners, Nate. Fuck the Niners, Nate.
Fuck the Niners, Nate. But he did bring up a good point that we didn't mention about the San Fran game.
What's that?
And our man, the myth, the legend, boots on the ground, Eric is in the house.
What up, Boots?
Hall of Fame can fan.
Man, his sign made Sports Center.
Yeah,
Dude.
That's crazy.
yeah.
I mean,
I have an image of it.
That was
somewhere
pretty
we can
nuts,
throw it up.
Boots. You're the fucking goat.
And then we just got we got and just wanted to say this to chat. We're probably gonna get haters coming in all throughout. Fuck them. Who cares? What other loser fans have to go to another team and fucking say the shit that we always get as Cowboy fans?
Yep.
Eagles, Niners. Fuck them.
We'll take it. But so there was a little bit of news coming up with Zeke in today. I don't know if it's today or maybe yesterday, but he was saying that he would be interested in taking a pay cut if it kept him in Dallas.
So
He knows the writing's on the wall.
I do kind of want to hop into this. And I think
Yeah, go for it.
Hop in.
this is a good
Bring it right
transition.
up.
So we started a blog. Oh, wait, that's not ours.
We started a blog.
Called Blogging the Boys.
That's blogging the boys. Hang on. Well, we did start a blog. If you go to cowboyscanfan.com/blog, we're going to be doing a little bit of writing. And a good homie who, if you've been tuning into the cast online, if you're an audio streamer, you need to come join us, youtube.com/the Cowboys Can Fan podcast or just Cowboys Can Fan. Search it. But basically, Matt Vink wrote an article here, the Cowboys' top 5 free agent questions. Tony Pollard being at the top of the list. That's just, I don't want to go through. That was just an intro to the blog.
I mean, maybe just scroll through his 5, and this is a good talking point. We can go through his top 5. We just, even if we just look at the picks, and then I'd like to see out of you guys, if out of the 5, you can pick 2. That's what we'll say.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we'll roll with. Or you can franchise tag one and sign one. And then you guys can kind of, little food for thought, little
Yep.
what's the word I'm trying to find here? Activity that we could do.
Okay, so we got Tony Pollard as number 1. We got Cooper Rush as number 2. I think that's a really interesting one.
It is, yeah.
I didn't consider it. Dalton Schultz at number 3. It's probably going to be on a lot of people's lists. Leighton Vander Esch at number 4. And Donovan Stud Wilson.
Ooh, this is a tough list.
Number 5. It is.
Donovan
It
Wilson dash stud.
This is
that's safety. It's dash stud.
Dash stud. So what do you guys think? Like, if you had to
I got
franchise,
mine.
if
You
you
got
have
yours?
yours, okay, well, you get shoot off.
Well, I'd franchise tag TP20,
Okay.
and then I'd pay Dono.
Yeah. All right. What's the reasoning?
Two. I was gonna say, for some reason I thought I would be able to incorporate LVE in there, and I wasn't able to. But reasoning, I think, just with the Zeke situation, if Zeke's gonna take a pay cut, and we're able to get the same dual back roll that we had this season, I don't think it's a bad thing for the team. I do think TP20 is too much, is too good for us to let go in terms of being a possible slot receiver and then an explosive back when we need him.
We still didn't see him much in the slot as a receiver. Hey,
Which is
with
what-
all that talk that we had about him at the start of the year.
Not
Possibly
not our fault though.
not our fault though.
Not our fault though. So that's where I'd tag TP20 because I do think he's going to get that payday somewhere else. And then Donald Wilson was showing up. I liked what I saw out of him. I liked LVE this year. LVE played fantastic, but I also don't think that I wouldn't pick. Well, obviously I didn't pick LVE over.
Yeah, it was tough.
Over,
It's
Dono.
gonna be situations that the Cowboys front office has put in. They're gonna have 5 players they like, and realistically, they're not gonna be able to keep all of them. The NFL is a very competitive league, not only on the field but also in negotiations with players. And a lot of teams have a lot of money that they're willing to spend. AJ, who would you franchise and then keep?
Sure. Well, I just wanted to bring up the estimated franchise cap. So
Nice.
10 million. I think that's right in the value that you'd be paying TP per year.
Oh yeah, because Zeke's supposed to get 10.9 next year. So yeah, that would be pretty much if you drop Zeke's pay and then you could get franchise tag Tony, you're pretty much not losing any money realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy
Now,
fuck! Look at linebacker.
I know, and so that's where things change. So I'm cheating because I looked at this list.
Yeah, but this is good. This is how you have to look at. This is how you have to look at it.
I think I would sign Wilson.
Yep.
And I'm going to be boring and just say I'm going to franchise Tony Pollard because I couldn't franchise LVE at 20 million.
No.
Bandwagon boys stick together.
It's funny because I'm leaning towards that, but just to be different, I'll go, and I know it increases if you do tight end, and they're not gonna do tight end because we have Jake Ferguson, and Fergalicious. So fuck it, I gotta stick with you guys. I can't.
Well, what was tight ends?
Tight ends
11.
It's only 11, but he had that last year, and it'll jump up another whatever, right? Because it'd be his second time getting franchise. The reason I would sign Donovan Wilson, not to the franchise, but to just sign him, go down to safeties. Even safeties make some bank, but that's if you franchise him. I think you could get Donovan Wilson at a very good price, and then you're still going to pair him and Jaron Kearse as a very, very outstanding safety tandem. So I think we're all in agreement there with those 5 players.
Well, let's you gave your takes.
I gave my takes. Yeah. What about?
Well, let's get one other person's take.
Oh yeah,
ladies and gentlemen,
bring him
boys
in.
And girls,
I kind of forgot.
Women and children of all ages, even though there's
Get my mustache
no
ready
women
for him.
and children that follows podcast. He has been known to be the villain, or some would say the voice of reason in the Cowboy space. Ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't subscribed to his absolutely bombastic
There you go.
podcast or podcast show, the fuck are you doing here? Ladies and gentlemen, our homie and brother, Barry Graham Jr. of the All Evening Podcast. Barry. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was good.
It was good. Thanks.
That's fine, man. We turn it up in here. It's all good.
There it goes.
That's what we needed. Is
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Barry? How you doing, man?
It's rough week, but it's getting better. It's getting better.
Barry, how many years have you been feeling this? Because this is new to me.
Well, my backstory is that I was a Jets fan growing up, and I always watched the Cowboys as well because the Cowboys used to always come on Fox. So Jets would come on CBS. Then after that, the Fox game. So I was always watching both teams my whole life, but kind of leaned towards the Jets, and then I kind of just over the last 8 years kind of really switched full Cowboys. So I've always had an affinity for them. I've always watched them. I've always had the pain and the suffering on both sides.
Yeah, you get double hit.
Yeah, exactly. So I was a Jets fan and a Cowboys fan. So you can imagine the pain and suffering that I've felt for both particular organizations. But this one to me, I think more than any year in the Dak era, I think this one hurts the most. And I think, just the reaction from the fan base, I think a lot of people agree.
Oh, yeah. You're not wrong. Like, this is probably the first time since Dak's been in the NFL that he's actually come under fire with people that have defended him quite through almost anything, right? Like I've pretty much defended Dak as much as I could, even this year with a lot of his interceptions. He had an off year this year. I would still go, okay, we can work through it. We still got the chance at making a Super Bowl run. He beats Tom Brady in the first round. You're like, okay, maybe he's figured this out a little bit. You get to the divisional. I'm still feeling a little bit reserved because I've gotten my hopes up and just had them stomped on before, so I'm still a little bit reserved. And then he just goes out there and absolutely probably has, if not his worst game, at least a top 3 of his worst games considering the stage of it. And it's just you can't even. There's just no way to defend him because everybody else, minus maybe Maher, did exactly what they needed to do in that game.
Yeah, even Maher, right? Think about it. The guy, he stepped up, hit his 2 field goals.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I'm saying? So, the extra point that first one, obviously, he probably still had the yips, right? But in regards to hitting the field goals, he was money.
True.
But, the problem that I saw in that game is nothing new. it's just, I had put out a video on Instagram. Everybody check that out if you want to. And I said that it's time for everybody to separate Dak, the great person. He's a great person. His story is wonderful. He's overcome so much. And we have to separate that great man from the player. Because a lot of times when you come after the player, people come after you because they want to link that to his character, and that has nothing to do with the other. What I saw in that game is what we saw all year, is that, and I don't know if you guys have paid attention to these stats, but I'm gonna.
I don't look at stats.
I'll bring the stats for you.
Here it is.
Did you guys know?
I'm scared.
Oh fuck!
Yeah. Did you guys know that Dak Prescott has not had 2 straight games of no turnovers in 49 straight games?
Wow.
No, I did not know that, but that's very scary.
That's terrible.
Holy shit!
Right.
That's including fumbles also, correct?
That's including fumbles, right? So remember, he had a fumble problem.
Yeah, couple years ago. Whenever you'd run the ball, whenever he used to run the ball, you couldn't even use him in Madden and try to run with him because you'd get touched and you'd just throw the ball in the air.
Yeah. You remember how many times he would drop back and try to throw the ball and would just come out of his hand?
Yeah, I do. Which is strange because the guy's got fucking ginormous hands.
Yeah, he has mitts.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, man. But 49 straight games he has gone, and he hasn't had 2 back-to-back games, clean games.
Wow.
That right there is the definition of what he is. Is that he's always going to be a turnover-prone quarterback, and if you don't have the weapons, it's going to be hit or miss. And the problem that I have is that we, as the Cowboys nation, we have to just accept what he is. I've said this on the show before. People need to stop trying to say, well, he's a top 10 quarterback. None of that matters. It doesn't matter.
That's me. I've said
anymore.
that. No.
You know what I'm saying? You're not the only one. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that have said that, but it's like, if you're a top 10 quarterback, okay, Josh Allen's a top 10 quarterback. He chokes a lot in the playoffs too.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of bad decisions too. So what does that do for you? I'd rather have a guy that's in the 20s, but he gives me one perfect postseason, i.e. a Joe Flacco, and wins a Super Bowl. I don't care about top 10. I care about winning.
Yeah.
It's about winning at the end of the day. So, we really have a very cloudy future, because the other thing that I wanted to bring up before you guys, we can go into another topic, or you want to ask something else, is, if football, I see you when you're watching the games, you're calling out particular formations, you're calling out defenses, is really, really great to see. But has anybody realized that Dak has been late the entire year on all of his routes?
Well, yeah, you look through that all 22 I posted.
Yeah.
And most of the throws, he's throwing to where the guy was, not
Right.
where he's going to be. And that's
also too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also too. And what's happening is that, and this is for the bandwagon boys, I want to give y'all a little knowledge right now. Bring y'all to school.
Hey, school's in session.
When a quarterback is in a 4 or 5 step drop, that ball has to get out quickly, or whatever decision has to happen quickly. If you see that game, Dak Prescott goes into a 4 or 5 step drop, and they call it hitches, right? So you should release the ball after your first hitch in a perfect situation. You probably have a second hitch to do something. By your 3rd and 4th and 5th hitches, it's over. So if he's not throwing the ball out of the second hitch, it's a dead thing. And what happened in that game is that they were playing zone. He's doing a 5-step drop. He's in a 5th hitch. So they're looking at him. They know exactly where the ball is going.
Yeah.
He doesn't recognize that. Instead of saying, you know what, I can dirt this, I can throw it out of bounds, or I can maybe go and use my legs and probably extend the play a little bit. But he decides to throw it. That should scare every Cowboys fan, because that is a lack of awareness. Dak Prescott doesn't have great footwork. He's good when he's in rhythm, but naturally his footwork sucks. The only guys that can be able to get away with bad footwork are guys like Aaron Rodgers, guys like Patrick Mahomes that have otherworldly arms that they can be able to overcompensate for that. Dak Prescott can't. He doesn't have a big arm, and he doesn't have great footwork. So when his hitches are off, when he's in a 5-step drop and he's taking so long to throw the football, the play's dead. It doesn't matter how many weapons you have.
Right.
If you have Jerry Rice, you can have Randy Moss on the outside. It's dead.
Yep.
And that's what he did the entire game. The entire game.
When we look at that pass, it's been a little polarizing. That Michael Gallup interception that he threw. I've heard arguments. Yeah. I've heard arguments that Gallup quit on the route, and I've heard arguments that Dak just threw a piss poor ball, and however way you put it. My argument is, I could see it both. I could see it being both things. Michael Gallup might have stopped on his route because he thought, whatever it was a poor decision. And that's just, I'm just making that argument if that's what's true. I'm not in the guy's head. I don't know what he saw out there, but it certainly looked like he didn't cut back like he was supposed to, if that's what he was supposed to do. But I always go back to saying that shit can happen. You have receivers out there who are going to run bad routes. The quarterback is pulling the trigger, meaning that he's seeing the opportunity. He's the one who threw that ball still. Even if Michael Gallup paused, he still threw it there. Like, who can you blame in that scenario? Like, okay, Michael, you know, for argument's sake, you ran the wrong route, but why would you throw the ball then?
Yeah,
if that happened,
and that's the thing. I get the argument of if Dak's throwing to a spot and his receiver's not there, well, who are you going to blame? But we just saw it too many times that I give the benefit of the doubt to the wide receivers at this point. There was just too many times this season where you could tell Dak was trying to throw an out route and he basically just threw it to the defensive back. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a tricky, it's a tricky, because you could say either way.
You can look at some of the, you can fundamentally look at, I don't know why I said fundamentally, you can look at some of the.
Sounded smart.
Trying to use, hey, I was trying to.
Sounded good.
Yeah, I said it sounded great. You can tell some of the interceptions that have happened. We saw with the Cowboy receivers, you can't fully let them off the hook because there was a lot of volleyball going on. Like there are times when, and it could possibly be kind of going back to what Barry was saying. It could have been a short throw. It could have been mistimed. But there are some blatant ones where it's like that shouldn't have been an interception. Now, not enough to say
5.
Well,
5 of his 15.
Yeah. So at one. Yeah. So yeah. It's again not a quarter is still not wavering enough to say that you could go an entire season with the streak that Dak had. Unbelievable streak, by the way.
But to be fair, we don't go through and look at every quarterbacks and do that. So
no, true,
right?
You're right, true. But it was different though. Like this year, like I've watched him obviously since he's been in the league. This was the first year, in my opinion, of Dak that he was throwing like that. Like he had sometimes would make a bonehead play and have a bad decision, but this year, obviously, he set a record for himself in a short amount of games compared to playing a full season. He just seemed off, and even when he just always seemed off this year. I don't know.
This wasn't reading the field properly, man, at all.
And this is why it hurts more. We gave him a freebie. Pre my Cowboys era, but still, he got the freebie in the injury year. Mm-hmm. So technically, he's going into his 8th season
next year. Yeah,
you know, like the expectation at year 5 of a quarterback, and even sooner. Let's be honest. Now it's like year 3.
Yeah, year 3 probably.
But like he was playing well enough. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, I think what hurts is a little bit of the wool being pulled off your eyes, and maybe the realization like. Is this the plateau? Because things were on a rise and looking good. And it's like, okay, well, next year he's going to push it that a little more extra bit.
Yeah.
But are we seeing that plateau? And that's why it's a little bit more painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly believe, AJ, that's what it is. I don't think you're going to see Dak get any better than what he is. He is what he is. And, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you got to surround him with more weapons. You got to give him more weapons. Any quarterback and any team can say that. Every quarterback would love more weapons. But it's the times where those weapons are either injured, they're not getting separation, that Your quarterback is paid to make plays. In that game against San Francisco, we needed one pass out of the ones that he did not complete.
Yep.
One.
Yep.
And he couldn't do it.
That T.Y. Hilton right up the fucking seam. Jeez.
Yeah.
Right down the seam. He didn't see him. The Gallup one that he threw in the third quarter, he underthrew that one. He underthrew so many passes. Why? Because it goes back to what I was saying. You're late on your hitches. You don't have a plus arm. And you're underthrowing guys. All of those. And then the pressure is coming in the pocket. And we all know what he looks like. When there's no pressure, his passer rating is up. His QBR is up. When that pocket starts to collapse, he is a different guy.
Now,
That's what it is.
Do you think that something like that is correctable? Now, obviously, Dak by himself it's not correctable, but could you put, let's say we lose Kellen Moore this year. Let's say, for instance, the coaching staff to a certain degree gets blown up, which we already started to see in a couple of them, which linebacker coach and running back coach gone. Right. Do you get somebody in there that can actually fundamentally work with Dak on the issues that you're seeing? Because we don't know what's going on in the locker room. I mean, it would be ridiculous for me to think that they just pay him and then crack him if you got him.
Crack him if you got him, son.
Get him if you got him. It would be ridiculous for me to think that the Cowboys, with the amount of money that they're paying him, they're just going to say, well, let's just pay. Guess what?
No, he's still here for the next 2 years. Anyone that doesn't think that, Dak's still the quarterback.
Okay, so
into 2024.
So this is where I'm kind of giving the, and this is not just to Barry, this is to both of you guys as well. Yeah. But he's here for the next 2 years.
Yeah,
right. He ain't going anywhere. At least. Arguably, if the rumors are going to take in terms of Ty getting a 2-year extension or whatever, you have CeeDee Lamb. You already have, and whether or not Dalton Schultz goes, you still have Fergie and Hendershot. So there you have 4 solid options on the receiving court. You pull in a Michael Gallup because he's still going to be there.
He'll be better than last.
Yeah, and
maybe hopefully Tolbert comes along next season.
Yeah, so he is not lacking in the wide receiver department. So what do we do? What does Cowboys need to do? Because I don't think it's an on-field issue. We can't solve the on-field issue. It has to be an off-field or a sideline issue in terms of what can we do to correct
offensive
that?
Coordinator.
I think if I think we've seen enough of Kellen Moore. I think it's time for him to explore other options.
Go to the Panthers. Fuck.
Listen, he might go to college. You never know.
Back to Boise.
He's a hot name in college as well.
Yep.
So we'll see what he decides to do. But I really do think that simplicity is what Dak needs. Is that everybody saw what Cooper Rush did, right? They simplified the offense. It was easy throws, easy routes, easy completions. That's what they allowed. That's what they wanted him to do. You put Dak in that situation, he's making $40 million. Obviously, you're going to ask more of your quarterback because of what you're paying him.
Yeah.
That needs to change. Doesn't matter what the Cowboys are paying him. They need to coach him based on his ability to move the offense, to understand what he's seeing on the defensive side. He needs to understand what the defense is giving him. He needs to understand zone reads. He's not picking up zone reads right now at all. He really isn't. He just cannot understand what he's seeing with zone reads. So they're gonna have to try to simplify that offense. And is Zeke gonna help that? Maybe they need to bring in another running back. Maybe they have to draft another running back and get a 3-headed monster in there where you can get more legs, more opportunities, run the ball, get more creative. But yeah, it definitely comes, just like Ant said, it's going to come down to offensive coordinator really sitting down with Dak and saying, listen, we are just going to play to your strengths and not expect you to do what every other $40 million quarterback is expected to do, because he can't.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that stop treating him like he's Josh Allen. He's not. Stop treating him like he's Joe Burrow. He's not. You need to treat him like Brock Purdy. You need to treat him like any other game manager that can be able to make a pass or two. He's not that guy because Another thing before, I like to go on a tirade.
Do it. Hey,
Keep going.
We volleyed it up to you.
It's therapeutic for us just as much as it is for you.
We all got to get it out. Man. Like the shit that bothers me is that when Dak is playing great, we don't never hear about the fucking offense, right? We don't never hear about how bad the weapons are, how bad Zeke looks, how bad the offensive line looks. But when he plays shitty, that's when people want to say, "Well, we need weapons." Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? It has nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always an excuse, and the excuses need to stop. And I think when the excuses stop, I think the Cowboys can be able to look in the mirror and say, this is what we are, and this is what we're going to focus on, and this is how we get better. Period.
So I got a question for AJ because I know you got that little list you made. I know you got that Excel sheet you got made up. So I know is that Excel sheet that you have? This is this. I have a 2-part question. Question A: does it have other free agents or just Cowboys players?
So if I pull it up, I'll do my best to explain it. But it's
in the mind of AJ.
It's a nice little way because you're right. We get into these arguments about Dak, and the reality is it doesn't really matter. There's no option here.
Right.
Trading him probably not going to happen, and if we do, it'll be extremely undervalued. And then who? Now Cooper Rush is our number 1 quarterback, and who's out there on free agent? And maybe we use
somebody's going to pick him up.
It just would exactly. Well, you think, well, he's a free agent, right? So, but the other option is cutting Dak, and that's just ludicrous. It's
not gonna happen.
Yeah. So that's our quarterback. End of argument. We can argue later if you want about if he should or not, but that's the world we're living in.
Do you want me to bring your screen up?
You can. It's a little hard to understand because it's for my brain, but but yeah, what I did is I went through today and I went through the offense and defense. I looked at the players that we do have, at least like the players that are starters. Yeah, and most of the players I wrote down definitely, and then on I also looked at the free agents that the Cowboys have, looked at who we should keep, and then also looked at just kind of what their options would be in free agency, really roughly. There's some websites that I use to kind of help with some of these estimations. But the first thing that I think is really interesting is we have to look at the cap overall. So $225 million. Cowboys have $9 million of dead payroll with Lael Collins. So now we're down to about $215 million because it's an estimate. They say it's going to be a little over 220. They estimate the salary cap. So Dak Prescott is taking up 22 or 23% of our cap. When you look at it that way, would you pay your quarterback? I'm not saying if he deserves it or not, but just in terms of allocating budget, 20-25% for your most important player.
Crackemifyougotem, you got him, son.
On the team. I think that makes sense. At least it might be a little too high, but it's not too wild. So I still don't think the quarterback scenario of pay is like anything abnormal with what we're seeing in terms of
everyone else
and the salary cap increasing. That's why the players get paid more, is because they're anticipating higher salary cap, right?
Yes.
But we can go through this really quickly and stop me where you want. But basically, Cooper Rush, I have him rated as about an A- backup quarterback for the Cowboys because for the system, I think he came in and did what he was supposed to do. He just made that one mistake in the Eagles game, or a couple mistakes in the Eagles game. Otherwise, he probably would be a little harder to keep if he didn't.
Well, even you look at that though, like you see where the Eagles are now. Yeah, they're in the NFC Championship game. That dude he was playing against one of the best teams, or arguably the best team in the NFL. And minus the 3 interceptions, he still came back and they still had a shot at the end of the game.
He played his ass off,
which is pretty crazy. Granted, he threw three picks that game, but I definitely agree with the A- grade on Cooper Rush as a backup quarterback, and I would love for them to retain him unless they go out. Well, even if they go out and draft a quarterback this year, which they should.
The issue is though that there's so many teams need quarterbacks. So many team needs. It's like quarterbacks are in the league at the moment versus like just saying let's draft a quarterback. It's like so many teams need some like a quarterback.
He's going to want to get paid. Cooper Rush is going to want to be paid as one of the higher paid backup quarterbacks in the NFL this year.
And I think he will. I think some team is going to give him a reasonable contract this year to be, a viable backup and a possible starter in case somebody gets hurt. I think what Dallas needs to do is not worry about. If they can get Cooper Rush for a good price, great. But if not, I think that they should turn to the draft for the next 2 seasons. I think that they should use a 4th round and up pick on a quarterback.
Use one of
2 quarterbacks.
Use one of our what are they called when you get the player gets signed by another player? We got 2 fifths
compensatory picks.
Use one of our comp picks. We got I think we got 2 fifths and a 6th. Like use one of those on a fucking quarterback, man. Why not?
Well, it doesn't mean that you're gonna, he's gonna take Dak's job, but look what happened. How Dak got the job in the first place. Romo gets hurt. They draft him in the 4th round. We have a quarterback. You need to listen. Bill Belichick taught us all of these years with having Tom Brady. They were winning Super Bowls. They were the most winningest team ever. He drafted a quarterback almost every year.
Yeah.
Because quarterbacks are like currency. If you draft them and you hit on one, then you can be able to trade them or have him as your starter if you don't have a franchise quarterback. So why not draft them every year?
Yeah, I mean San Francisco.
Trey Lance. They have Trey Lance right now. If they could go with Trey Lance or they could trade him.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, and that you can't think that they're going to keep Trey Lance. They're going to keep Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's.
The guy
Brock
made.
Purdy's
Yeah,
the guy.
I think he's their
Brock
guy
Purdy's
going
the guy,
forward.
but they got 2. They got Jimmy G, who's got. Well, I mean, I don't. Well,
he's a free agent.
He's a free agent. So they don't get the currency on him.
They'll trade. They should trade Trey Lance. I mean, maybe they hang on to him and hope someone gets hurt in training camp or something, and then his stock goes up. Who knows? But Brock Purdy, and this goes back to drafting a quarterback. Now that you found Brock Purdy, well, guess what? San Fran has one of the best deals for a quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. Now they
can be able to really spend on that team.
Exactly. So they're going to
look at them already.
Exactly. So it's like the rich getting richer, man.
Dude.
It's like fuckers.
And one thing that'll play into this conversation too to always keep in mind is the players get after they get out of their first contract, which a lot of the high-ranked free agencies always are. It's after their first contract. Right. Those guys probably want to go to a winning team.
Yep.
More than likely haven't faced a lot of victory, or if they have, you're still looking for greener pastures. San Fran, with that type of deal, and players are smart, agents are smart, they know, I can get an extra $2 million and go to this winning team because they have that additional budget. I mean, it's a no-brainer to go there. We see that all the time with NFL teams stacking these veteran players.
Well, their window just got way bigger by having Mr. Irrelevant become relevant. They'd literally just opened that window for them to be possibly the next dynasty type thing because they got the bargain of the year by far.
Just to talk on Brock Purdy for a second, because when we look at what happened to Dak Prescott, drafted in the 4th round, Tony Romo goes down, he's their QB, they go with him. Similar situation, Brock Purdy gets drafted 7th round.
Very last pick
Gets put in. The difference, though, and what we're seeing with Brock Purdy, and this is the one thing I can't stand hearing Niner fans say to us the last couple of
bang bang Niner gang.
Besides bang bang Niner gang, which if I ever said bang bang Niner gang, you like I would take that gun that I'm saying bang bang and shoot myself in the face. But the thing that just drives me nuts is that your team got outplayed by a 7th. Like Brock Purdy didn't outplay Dak Prescott in that game, but what Brock Purdy did outdo better than Dak Prescott is that even when our guys, our defense was in his face, making him think. He still made throws.
Didn't turn over the ball.
He didn't turn over the ball, but he still we and as much as we got in him and we shook him up, we
still did what?
We shook him up.
No, what was the one you said before? We got in him.
We got in him. We got in him deep. Oh, we got in him deep.
This loser?
We got in him deep, but he didn't. He actually still looked pretty composed versus
never lost his composure, man. Never.
But
that's a value.
The thing I was before we got into all this other topic here, the last thing I was going to ask you about Dak Prescott after your vitriol of hate on Dak Prescott there, Barry.
I actually thought Barry was pretty tame with it.
I'm just joking. I thought he was going to be worse. I thought he was going to cut a fucking promo for the world, and he did. The hitch thing totally got me. Dak Prescott looked nervous even when he didn't have to, because I thought the San Francisco D-line was going to be way more over them. Like, they fucked him up, I think, by scheming him on those blitzes all those times, and then they didn't bring the house.
Yeah, they didn't bring the house. They dropped back and played zone.
I totally messed him up.
Yeah.
Listen, the offensive line played well, man. It's just he just looked like he had deer in the headlights, man. He really did. And that's the part that just it concerns me going forward, because there's no fix for that.
Yeah.
There's no mechanics that you can be able to work on for that. You can go into the lab, you can go put on weight, you can go do wind sprints and get faster. You can, but the mental part of the game, how he sees the game, how he breaks down defenses, you can't. That is what it is. Either you have it or you don't.
That's where I was the mental side of things. There's something mentally blocking him right now, and that's where when you talk about off field, you get that right QB coach in or the proper OC. They can help break through that, because when you see glimmers or shades of brilliance in some of his games, how he could actually play, and we rise up as Cowboy fans and say, Dak's the guy. Yeah. You can get mental coaching to break those barriers down so that you can focus on it.
And his girlfriend just broke up with him today. Did you guys hear about that?
Whoa, really?
I heard about that.
He's having a tough week.
Damn.
Let's just say that. Dak's having a tough week.
As for Cooper Rush, the only alternative that I saw on the list that had the same
pedigree
cost. Well, yeah, it was Gardner Minshew. I'd be interested if.
Him.
Yeah, I still agree though. I think that's what the Cowboys need to do with their pick.
Take Gardner?
No, in like a fifth or plus, fifth plus
comp
round
pick, man. You got these extra picks. Use them. I see on your list here, you got the Ezekiel Elliott thing and you got the Tony Pollard thing.
Yeah.
And I know you had talked about player second contracts. We said we all decided if we had the choice, we would franchise Tony Pollard. Would you guys go to the extent of giving him a second contract? We saw Zeke get a second contract. It didn't pan out too great. Would you guys, and this is getting to be a thing in the NFL, not giving running backs that second contract?
No, we're in a, sorry, I'm going to just chop in.
Yeah,
I think we're in a different era with running backs right now, that you are like the crop of running backs coming in and the ability to kind of mix them around. You don't need to get a second contract that's massive like Zeke. I think that should be the blueprint of what not to do in scenarios, because I think when you get guys like TP20 coming through, or even Crash Davis, you can work them into a system if you're going to do dual back. Even go back to having a solid fullback option if you want. But I don't think we should be paying.
Especially coming off that broken leg.
Yeah, I don't think we should be paying that.
But you'd still franchise him.
I don't know, man. We're gonna see if Jerry and Tony can work out, a team friendly type of deal. I think if anybody can do it, it's Jerry.
Yeah.
Right? Jerry can be able to get guys to get team friendly contracts. But if not, then like you said, Ad, they gotta go the route of franchise tagging them and then adios and go draft somebody else. I think the same thing with the running, with the quarterback position. They got to do a running backs. Keep drafting them.
Yeah.
Keep drafting them and just have a rotation of guys that you can be able to use, because you never know who's going to hit. You really don't. And, the fact that Zeke has a $17 million cap hit next year.
That's wild.
You even if he takes a reduced contract, which is great, at the end of the day, he's still on the team.
Yeah.
So you still are going to need somebody else that gets into that mix. So I think they need a 3-man rotation.
I'm in the favor of, if Zeke's going to take a contract, if he's going to take a deduction in his salary for the year of what go from 17 million for the year?
Well, that's his cap, but he's getting, I think he's owed 10.9 or something like that.
So he takes a pay cut.
They're just going to backload it.
Yeah.
Like what the team needs though is they do need those leaders in the locker room. If Zeke, which everybody says Zeke's the leader in the locker room,
Yep.
Let him come down, pay him for at least one more year if he's going to take the pay cut. Get TP20. Hopefully we can still have that solid front from both of them because they were starting to gel. I think last year, Zeke was still like, I want to be Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not, I want more of the carries. And then I think this year you realize, okay, I'm not Ezekiel Elliott. I gotta share carries. I think if they can get into that rhythm together, moving into this next season, I think it's better for the team to keep it because with all the shakeups that are going to happen and how this last season turned out, I think we need to still have that locker room leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, and before you go, I just want to say this. I think that what they should do with Zeke's contract is that I think they should give him the same amount of time left on his deal that Dak has, because once Dak's era is over, I think the Zeke era needs to end as well. I think they both need to end at the same time and then they start over. So that needs to happen. Is that they got to line those guys up, and if they end up coming back, obviously Dak will be back, but at that point, but Zeke won't. But I still think you need to line those guys up contract wise, because if you're going to get from out of them, you have to get from out of them together.
And this might not be a popular opinion, but and it might seem Madden-y.
I like it too.
But
everyone.
Yes, I do play Madden, but my philosophy isn't like, obviously you can finesse trades and shit. That's not what I'm talking about. My philosophy is always like, we need to, if the player, and I honestly don't think Zeke is worth bringing back for the price. I would try to trade him for whatever value you can get just to unload the contract, because Tony Pollard, you can sign. He might even he could go upwards of 12, 13 million a year and maybe really high in his first year. So that's just something to consider. But I think he'll get an average probably of 9 or 10 million, right?
I don't think anybody wants Zeke in a trade, AJ.
Look, I'm talking about giving him away if you can.
But that's what
but the reason is, and these players might be signing with their teams, but we got Barkley, Hunt, Penny, Jay Williams, and Jacobs, all of which I would much rather have than Zeke on the team with Tony Pollard.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with you at all. I think the only thing preventing that is how much dead cap he still has. Or no, I thought this year I thought he rolled into like we could basically cut him this year, and we were finally out of the cap space with Zeke this year.
It was in the offseason of last season,
right? So
we could have got out of it. So they picked it up. They picked it up, and that's it.
And then packed it up. So you're better off to, at least if you're going to be paying the dude, try to get what you're actually going to pay him down, and then see if he has a role. Let's be honest, this team that's going to be fielded in 2023 is going to look a lot different than the team looked on Sunday. And is that going to be for the better or for the worse? We don't know.
We don't know, but we do know. Like remember last season when we started seeing players go, and we were super worried. Let's say specifically about the defense. We talked about, oh man, the defense. And I arguably think the defense was better this year than they were last year.
But your boy might be gone. Dan Quinn might be gone this year, son.
Yeah, man. Dan Quinn might be going to the Colts.
Yeah, Dan Quinn might be gone.
I don't know if I'll be able to ever do this again. Lieutenant Dan, but yeah, I totally get that. I'm just talking about players. I do think that when you look at who they're going to put in, because they saw what a defensive coordinator like Dan Quinn can do with the defensive team, the next coordinator that they're going to bring in, I don't want to say that he already has the foundation for at least one season to take it and move with it. I do think that we're still going to be in a pretty good defensive position, regardless of a couple of players.
And we have studs on defense still.
We have good players, man. We have Jordan Lewis is going to be back next year.
Deron Bland's going to be in his second year.
Up. We're I think we're going to have to look into some safety help. But we definitely. I think the defense is going to be all right, man. I really do think that the defense is not the problem.
Not at all. As long as you can get someone there to coach them as that unit still, right? Because you still don't know. Granted, the players have to make the plays, but how much of the scheme helps them? Like, you could put a bunch of good players in a Mike Nolan defense, and it doesn't matter.
Hey,
they're gonna be shitty.
Defensive coordinator for an NFL coach is an easy sell. You want to come coach one of the best fucking linebackers, NFL players in the league,
and youngest team with the young talent.
I'm talking about Parsons, of course, but then you start just looking around and there's
Sam
a
Williams,
lot.
Deron Bland, like you said, Jordan Lewis, Oso Odigizua. Like we're pretty loaded at each position.
Shit, LVE is only 26.
LVE, if you can sign a couple of these guys for 1 or 2 year deals,
that's right. Yeah.
And
we'll get to him.
Keep them together, Right.
Listen, man, the defense, we have some real good stars on this team, man. Some budding, real good players, man. It's just, it's offense, man. Offense is what bothers me.
And I think one of the most crucial positions, and I would say weaker than running back overall. Obviously, the injuries made running back position much weaker at the end of the season here, and I do think something happened with Zeke. We'll see about that, Barry.
I like your fantasy football graph that you made here. It's
Thanks.
like you came to a draft and I love it.
So everyone could read it because I know green to me
is red. Does red mean good?
Well, green is signed. Yellow means trade, and red
is bad.
Red is like just
need
get rid
improvement.
What does pastel red and pastel green mean though?
Oh, and then these are the free agents. We'll look at the free agents. But so we have CeeDee Lamb, we have Michael Gallup, and we have Turpin mostly playing in on special teams. If we can only get an OC who can figure out how to use them in the actual offense properly, I mean that would be really awesome. Maybe he's just a special teams guy, but whatever.
I think he's more than that, AJ. I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can use him as a gadget guy. I'm not saying that he can play every snap, but you can use him. And I think they blew a chance with that this year, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, same thing. If you look at, we were talking about Pollard being more implemented as a slot player, and I mean, we saw maybe him line up a lot, or
he's just mostly motion out of the slot was mainly his thing, to be honest. But so you got CeeDee Lamb, you got Michael Gallup, you got Kevontae Turpin, like you said, those guys are mainstays, and you got Jalen Tolbert and Dontario Drummond,
and he might be a special team guy as well. So I've never seen that guy.
Yeah, he's maybe a practice squatter.
But I think it's time to try to find a place for Simi Fioco and trade him off. Maybe get a pick or two that could turn into that quarterback. Why hasn't he played even this season when he could have? There were some opportunities for him to come out and be.
Well,
available.
that's the thing. If these guys that have been on the team for now a few years couldn't even crack the lineup this year,
they're just not good enough.
It's just they're not showing something.
Exactly. This is what there needs to be a little urgency, I think.
Get rid of them if they're not going to play next year. Fucking get rid of them this year.
That was the one thing that Jimmy Johnson did really, really well. You bring a player in, and like a day later, if it's not working out, get gone. Gone. You don't fit my system. Gone. You're done. Yeah.
I just think the cards are on the table, in my opinion, for Jalen Tolbert. Rinse and repeat. Then just go back to the draft next year and find another third rounder.
Yeah.
I don't like spending the third round pick on that, but I wouldn't care if you're just consistent.
You've already made the error. You've already made the error. Don't fucking try to ride with it,
And it doesn't necessarily have to be an error, Ad. Like the fact, some kids, man, they just take a little bit more time to develop, and that's okay. If he had to sit there and learn and go through his mistakes, and then next year he's gonna come back confident
and get 4 catches,
the NFL speed of the game, and actually make a fucking play, then that's fine. I'm okay with kids coming out of college and they have to learn the hard way.
But
he was from a small college. Yeah. So the NFL, jumping from where he came from to the NFL is a big leap.
It's okay. So
people's learning curve is a little longer.
I'll kind of talk about it in a business, because this is what a lot of businesses make mistakes. They hire an employee or they bring somebody on that's not necessarily qualified for that role, but I see shades of brilliance. Right. They bring him on. That employee doesn't do well. They they don't want to get rid of him because it's like, oh, I brought the point on. I thought they were going to. And they drag it on for so long. It causes issues to the business, causes issues to the managers, it causes issues to the employees. And then after a while, you let that person go or that person quits, and you just spent all this money and you wasted all this time. Yeah. You invested this, right? And what you should say is you bring them on, and as soon as you don't realize that they're clicking, you say, listen, I think you could be really good. I don't have the skill set or the time to bring you up to where I need you to be, so I got to let you go. And that's where I think the Cowboys need to look at some of these players. Hey, for whatever reason, we don't have the capabilities to bring
you that a little bit. The only reason it's not like that in this situation, they've drafted him in the 3rd round. He's going to make X amount in the next 3 or 4 years. There's really no reason to get rid of him already, right? Like, you've already spent that. And if you do say get rid of him, the guy never took up a game day roster. Mm-hmm. If he's just sitting back on the inactive roster learning, it's not really hurting the Cowboys yet, right? Like, financially, it's not hurting them. No. He's not taking up a spot. I totally get what you're saying. If with your example in a business, like if this was a guy that you brought on and you have him for a few years and you can get away from cutting him and he's gone and you don't owe him money. It probably would have made
more sense for, like, let's say T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, like exactly.
He doesn't do it, and then
that would make more sense. But for a dude that you already spent the draft capital on, he at least next year. Is that gray? Does that mean gonna wait?
I gave him light green. I moved him to light green. I moved Tolbert.
Yeah, we need the.
He's light green now.
Tolbert. Yeah. I'm gonna put you in light green.
But
not pastel green. You know what? Light green.
This does all come down to the argument of how much money are we spending on him, and there's no reason why you can't just go ahead and do what I said anyways and
for
draft
sure
that player. So what? There's no problem.
I think they will draft another wide receiver.
Yeah, drafting another wide receiver in the 3rd round. Literally, there's nothing against doing that. It's honestly better. Like you still need a wide receiver, and if he comes in and right off the hop he's playing better than this dude, than Jalen Tolbert, and they're playing for even that inactive position. Then that's when you say, "Okay, see ya," right?
Yeah. Competition, man. Listen, keep drafting the guys and see who rises to the top. That's all it is. Like, if you want to talk about Dak doesn't have weapons, if you're giving him more speedsters and more big body receivers out there that he can throw to, then there's no excuse. Yeah. So keep drafting them.
Definitely.
And that's true. Like, I think if you're gonna if it comes down to a kind of decision process in the draft or in the free agency, you would lean towards making the offensive choice over the defensive choice, just given the talent that we have right now.
The landscape of the team.
I think you're gonna see that too in this draft, guys. I think you're gonna see the Cowboys lean more offensive line, skill positions. You're going to see them. I'm telling you, they're going to get a running back. They're going to get a running back.
You think they're going to go Robinson?
Maybe.
Fuck, I would hope so. If they got Robinson at 26, which a lot of people are kind of hoping for right now, it does make me a bit nervous. But the guy just seems like if he's there at 26, I almost guaranteed the Cowboys will take him.
You gotta take like I said, if you're gonna have 3 running backs, just fucking use all 3 of them. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep. Oh yeah. Would you, out of this scenario, would you do both? Neither or one of re-signing T.Y. Hilton or Noah Brown, or picking up one of the free agents? I'll just throw some names out. There's
scroll it over so you can see it. Not that he can read it on the screen, but
there's Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, and Pringle, who are all kind of in that same potential range as T.Y. Hilton. There's other better free agents, but I think they're going to be out of the Cowboys' price.
I'm gonna say T.Y. I think he deserved his spot, and he could have been a bit like, man, he. And I hate to go back to the San Fran game. He could have had the play of the game. He was wide open, ran no one near him. He has an easy touchdown, so the guy can still move. The guy still even if he slows down a little bit, he still knows how to. There's a couple times in the Tampa Bay game he just sat perfectly down in zones, right? So
that's a skill. That's a skill to not panic, where you can sit in that you're in your area that you need to be, and then explode.
I would honestly T.Y. Hilton and even Noah Brown. He knows the system. We know what you're going to get from him. He's like, I think Barry the last time was on said he's never going to be that 80 catch guy. He blocks, but I don't think it hurts to bring him in on a contract that you can get out of easily if you had to.
Especially a blocking receiver. Bring him back. Like you said, he understands the offense. He knows his role. It's not going to hurt to bring back a Noah Brown. It's not going to hurt to bring back a T.Y. Hilton, because what T.Y. can do is, going back to what we were talking about with Tolbert, is that he can help him understand the game.
Yeah, and
getting a veteran guy like that, it can really help him gain his confidence. Going into year 2 anyway, you're gonna see a different kid. You really are. We're gonna be looking like man, this kid is something. You're gonna see a different Tolbert, but having a TY is really going to assist him with being a professional and understanding how to run those route trees. It's very important for him. So I think TY's value to this team is more than what he brings on the field.
And with Michael Gallup's, you've said this, Barry, I believe. Michael Gallup, really, let's look at this next year as being his. That's why they signed him to this contract.
I hope he's back. I always liked Gallup,
but then think about that.
You didn't see him taken off the top this year, and he'd always
because he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't, and he was always known for that. He was always your. Once a game, they're going deep to Gallup. Like, they're going to Dak's going to air it out and let Gallup run. It was once a game. And that just wasn't part of it.
He's going to get that. He's going to get that speed again, man. Every time after an ACL, guys need a full year to be able to get back to themselves.
Not yet.
He has his full year, and now it's time.
Not even the physical aspect of it, but that mental part of it is, man, if I fully run, is this thing going to give out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Another off season of training and getting stronger and faster and being in the playbook. Confidence back it should help him. Hopefully. Hopefully, I'm going to say hopefully.
Right.
I got a question for you. Or you want to do your last bit of this?
Yeah.
Okay, AJ, let's get your last bit of this here.
No. Well, there's a defensive side of it too. But is it relevant to wide receivers?
What I was going to say is kind of relevant to wide receivers.
Let's finish wide receivers, and then we can go to tight end.
Outside of what you got, like what you have up here, would you guys be okay with maybe the Cowboys stirring up some shit and trade, like trading for somebody?
Go get D-Hop.
Yeah, get D-Hop, get DeAndre Hopkins. Like that. If you want to win, go out and trade something for that dude.
Well, then you wouldn't need to sign Hilton or
exactly.
Or
so
Noah
it's
Brown.
Like it's this weird.
Yeah. No.
There's so many ways that we can go with things, right?
Would you not still sign T.Y. Hilton after you trade for
if
DeAndre
you could get him for something if you could still get him in there?
It's like
sure. If you get him for a good contract, why not keep him? Yeah.
But here's the issue that and I love all the ideas, but Cowboys are $5 million over cap right now.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a lot of. They did their wiggle room with their big contracts already.
Wiggle.
There's always wiggle room. They always find a way to make up fucking $20 million somewhere, right?
So Stephen Jones, the wizard of the wizard of the cap,
Master Chef,
the
capologist, because they're always so far over it, and then they somehow did cook the books.
Every team figures it out.
Miraculously pays off Goodell and says,
yeah.
Give me another 20.
Well, Jerry's contributes, I think, $1 billion each year just to make sure the cap keeps going up. So you can spend more on his players.
Yeah. Hey, it's just money, right?
Right.
Salt my stuff.
Just forget about this 20. Just give it to him.
Just go for it.
But if you think about it, I don't know, is this high or low? The Cowboys spend about 7 or 8% on their wide receivers.
I think that's probably low.
Yeah, it feels low.
Until CeeDee Lamb gets his contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's low.
Well, that's why it's low.
That's low because you got to think of the top 5 guys like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Those guys, they're probably 8% themselves on their team, right?
Yeah.
So
and Diggs may be available too, guys.
It's another guy. Fucking get the Diggs bros together. Trade for.
And you hear rumors of how he kind of after that Buffalo
is a little crybaby bitch, kind of like he was after his Vikings tenure. So don't love that, but I would go for him still.
I would go for him too. He might be a little crybaby bitch, but
two bros.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The Dig brothers.
The Dig bros.
Was that when he was just saying something?
No. So what they were saying is that he left even before the coaches got to the room at the end of the game. He was already almost out of the
He
arena.
When some teammate brought him back,
And then a teammate brought him back in. He didn't even shower. He just grabbed his stuff and he started to take off. Like,
Well, I don't think Dalton Schultz would ever do that to the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, I think Schultz is spending every moment he can at the Cowboys
Schultz-
facility. He's a true Cowboy.
He won me back a little bit at the end of the year.
He did. He's a
definitely the
strong showing in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
4 games.
He's definitely one of the guys who'll walk into Stephen Jones' office and say, "Look, I know you guys are going to want to pay me X amount to keep me on the team this year. I want you to take that. I want you to put it over to
No fucking
this person
way.
here. I'll do it. I'll do
Not
it.
happening.
I'll do it at spec. I'll do it at worker. I'll do it at rookie level. I want to get that Super Bowl. That's what I'm going to do for the team."
I think Schulte's gone this year.
Me too.
I think Schultz gone as well. I think the fact that Hendershot and Ferguson have shown signs.
They actually run a little bit. I think they run after the carry a lot better than Schultz.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they get the ball and they can pick up some yards.
Going to be our starting tight end next year.
Think about it this way. This is, I mean, Dalton Schultz. I love the fact that we talk about the clone zone, but if you look at him, he dropped a lot of touchdown passes in the end zone this season. He's volleyed a lot and he's turned over a lot. I don't think he's.
Also, he's not a blocking tight end either. You know,
He didn't look bad. He didn't look that bad this year. I'll give him a little bit of credit. He blocked a lot better in 2022 than he did in 2021.
Yeah.
But he's not that full package where I think Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot, they were out in schemes as blockers. Like that was their
kids, man.
Yeah.
The only blocking he's doing is on the Can Fan podcast.
Yep. That's true.
I gave Schultz an A rating, and I hope he hears
That's
that.
fine.
But
That's
but
all right.
his this isn't my calculation. There's a website, Sport Track or something like that, and it has for some players it gives you what their value is if they're a free agent. Schultz was valued at $15 million a year.
He could probably get it.
Oh yeah,
He probably someone.
That's what I'm saying.
A team that's looking. Well, look at the Vikings once they got Hawkinson. How just having that type of player, it did help their team quite a bit.
He's young.
There could be a team out there. All they need is a receiving tight end that now puts their offense in the top 10 of the league. Right.
different story if we didn't have Fergie and
Oh,
Hendershot.
definitely.
Different story. If we
Well,
didn't have
going into 2022, the reason we franchised Schultz was because we didn't have. I mean, you drafted these two dudes, but you didn't know, right? Like,
no.
So they had to keep Schultz because if they don't, he was a very big part of the offense in 2021.
You're playing rookies, and that's a risk too. Right?
Oh, definitely. So they had to franchise tag Schultz last year. This year, I think they might roll with Jake Ferguson as a starter, and then Hendershot in there, sprinkled in with a little McKeon.
And go if there's an availability in the first or second, maybe even third round, second or third round of the draft. I wouldn't be upset if they went and got a tight end too and just like really fill out that position. Now, mind you,
it'd be so funny if he looks like the rest of the time.
Oh, that's what I mean. You got to replace the clone zone.
you have to.
But this all comes down to as well. If Kellen Moore leaves, who comes in and what kind of scheme are they going to run and what do they see in the offense? Stuff that we can't really answer, right?
Honestly, AJ, if Kellen Moore leaves, you may just see Mike McCarthy call the plays, and you'll have that just somebody who's named the OC but doesn't really call plays. They're just more suggesting things to McCarthy.
Yeah.
McCarthy calls plays. He's been frothing at the mouth to call plays for this team because at the end of the day, that's what he likes to do. So that's what might end up happening if Kellen Moore leaves.
Yeah.
Two things I wanted to say, and really quickly. One, I do believe that if you want to be tough on your kids, you rip their safety blankets away. If we get rid of Schultz, we just ripped Dak's safety blanket away, and let's see what he can do.
Yeah, find someone new.
He can swim.
Yeah, throw him in the
find
deep end,
someone
right? The second thing, when you just brought up like Mike McCarthy calling his plays, a couple weeks ago we crack him if you got, crack the small. Crack him if you got
That's a trifecta.
Crack him, you got him, son.
that was a clone zone. Crack him. I heard. And I was saying this to the guys, and we're like, well, where do we hear these things? I was like, I don't know. I hear analysts talk about it. I hear people. I hear other suits. And you kind of just brought it up like Mike McCarthy's frothing in the most to call plays. I want to know, where did you hear that? Because what I was hearing from no source in general, just listening to all the other shows I listened to, they were saying that, finally, like for the Tampa game, finally, Mike McCarthy stepped out of Kellen's way and allowed Kellen to fully take control of the offensive play
How the
calling.
fuck would they know?
Exactly. They don't
know.
So
I watched the lips.
Yeah.
I have a 4K 80-inch television. I can really
OQLAD.
I can
Listen,
see.
We know that Jerry Jones is
Calls
a
the
guy
plays.
that likes to control everything.
Yep.
Getting Mike McCarthy, the deal was Kellen's going to call the plays. So that's what it is. And once Kellen leaves, then Mike McCarthy will call the plays. Mike McCarthy has given up a lot of autonomy and control to what Jerry wants in regards to that staff. And he's okay with it because that's why he got hired. You have to be at Jerry's beck and call and not be a real power coach to get along with him nowadays. But Kellen Moore's calling the plays. You can tell because over the last 3 seasons, we've seen the same vanilla fucking offense.
Yep.
A little pudding.
It's the same thing. So there's no creativity, and we've seen that for 3 years, so we know where it's coming from. Mike McCarthy, if Kellen Moore dropped, I would really want to see that. Obviously, there's other names that I would love to have in the mix, but I want to see what Mike McCarthy has. I really want to see what he has in regards to calling plays.
When he was in
Super Bowl, when he won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, he was calling plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask when he was in Green Bay, was he the one that was calling those shots?
He was the shot caller. He was like the guy in jail that calls all the shots.
Yeah, how do you know who's calling all the shots in jail? They're either jacked or fat as fuck. so and guess what? Never been in jail, but I'm just assuming that's how it works.
Hey, listen, that's good. That's a good take. Look at Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Did you guys want to do defense as well, or just finish with Terrence Steele?
I think we finish the offense, and then next week we roll into the defense.
Sure.
Hey,
you guys can do defense.
long season, baby.
we got 7 fucking months.
That's
babe.
right. Let's
We
not
have 7 fucking months. Let's not blow
yeah.
our
You guys-
wad
You
yet.
guys have to create content, man. Don't
Yeah,
That's right.
Before we go into that, while we're talking
O-line. So there's just 3 guys.
So we got before we go into the rest of the I want to know when Barry Grant Jr. is going to buy a Cowboys jersey, because you said you haven't bought a Cowboys jersey yet. Why and when?
You know what it is with me, man? I don't buy jerseys. I like, it doesn't matter what team I'm rooting for. I don't have any Mets jerseys. I don't have any Lakers jerseys. I don't have any. I'm just not a jersey person. But for the Can Fan boys, I will buy a jersey this year.
Yeah, boy.
Oh shit! Nice. Okay.
So we like to hear.
I will make sure that when I come on this show, I will have myself a Cowboys jersey on.
That's a big decision.
I mean,
That's a big commitment.
I feel
Big commitment.
I feel like Barry might go like, I don't know, Emmett or something to be safe. Would you go like a legend, or would you go a recent player?
I would.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna pick a jersey, it's gonna be my guy. I'm going primetime.
Yeah, prime time.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna say maybe Dion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Barry's gonna buy that sick Mitchell and Ness like long sleeve fucking baby blue Cowboys
Gonna be
Sanders.
nice and fitted.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sorry, AJ. Okay, let's go on the O line here.
Yeah. So real quick, we got left tackle Jason Peters. I mean, he's listed as a center, but he filled in mostly in guard, I believe. Connor McGovern and right tackle Terrence Steele, all free agents.
Yep. Terrence Steele got to bring back.
Gotta bring him back.
Gotta bring him back. Yeah, okay, absolutely. One of the things to note, though, for both the guard and right tackle position, there's a lot of free agents available out there. So I think it brings down the value, obviously. The supply is high. Demand might be high too. I don't know what other teams are looking
Teams
for.
will be always scared. It's when you get a big influx of a certain position. Everyone will be waiting, including the free agents. They'll wait for somebody to set the market on it, right? Like you'll see it every year.
And when it comes to offensive linemen and free agency, teams are very, very hesitant to give out big deals, because if a team has given up on an offensive lineman, that's a concern if he hits free agency anyway.
Yep.
So teams don't necessarily want to spend big unless you have the top of the top that something happened and a contract breakdown and the guy decides to leave.
Like a Trent Williams.
Normally, when a team gets a good offensive lineman, they don't leave.
Right.
They don't leave. So that's why you see, I don't really blame the Cowboys for really bargaining, bizarre hunting in regards to free agency when it comes to offensive linemen, because, it's pretty much it's really a risk that you're running getting any offensive lineman in the free agency. So it's better to draft them.
And that plays right into your point. I think you got to retain Terrence Steele and Connor McGovern. They both played well enough to get contracts, and they should both be on the list of who we try to get back.
Yeah, and if not, I think 100% Terrence, and if not Connor McGovern, then go big with like a nice guard who can come in there and fill that hole that's kind of been. I mean, when I look across the Cowboys line, I see 4 of the 5 spots filled pretty soundly. When Steele's playing, but even now it's going to be interesting with both our.
Well, I'm interested to see what they do in that regards. Like, is Tyler Smith now the left tackle going into next year?
I think he should be.
Yeah, Tyron Smith. Where's he go? Then stays at right tackle. Like, it'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys do. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Tyron Smith ended up playing pretty well down the stretch as soon as he got back, a couple shaky games when he came back from injury, but he ended up playing decent. They're both very, Tyler Smith is just going to be better next year. He had an awesome rookie season.
I think too, that right tackle for Tyron at this point of his career is better because, you got to be more athletic to play left tackle. Right tackle, you don't really need to necessarily be that athletic. So that might be a better spot for him than to really put him in the hot corner. And I don't think that he can be able to deal with that anymore.
He still has juice. Like you watch him against San Fran. The guy's in fucking minus his injuries. He's
a beast.
Phenomenal shape.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Like you see the dude, you're like, that guy's an offensive tackle. Oh my God, that guy is terrifying, right?
Hey,
so
exactly.
for me, you add another guard if it's not McGovern. If McGovern's there, you get Steele back. It's a good problem to have. Depth is something on the O-line that you just can't fuck with.
Yeah.
You saw it this year.
Yeah.
You saw it this year, man. We got lucky enough that Tyron Smith wasn't out for season. He came back at the perfect.
Lucky Peters.
Well, exactly. Peters
too.
and then
Peters, right,
Terrence Steele got hurt. Like our shuffling on the offensive line was crazy, and you need to have like 7 very good offensive linemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to have a chance.
Well, that wraps up that offensive.
I like it. I think we just go it on that, boys. We got an hour. We got an hour and a half in. Like I said, we have topics. There's a lot of the stuff we were going to talk about. It can get rolled into.
Well, I was going to say because we're now coming into for our podcast, Barry. We're coming into the off seasons where it's like week to week. It could be this. It could be the Sahara desert of content. For you on your podcast, you cover everything.
Oh yeah.
So you don't have an off season.
No, it never stops for me.
And was that by design? You didn't ever want to just talk about one team on your podcast?
He's a big sports fan.
No, I've thought about it. I've thought about doing like a Mets podcast or a Lakers podcast, but I have so much fun doing what I'm doing right now that I at some point I may be able to fit in another one because obviously we've been talking about getting another podcast with us in regards to like a wrestling thing or something else. So we're gonna have opportunity here, especially in this off season. We'll figure out our schedules, but I've definitely thought about having a niche team podcast, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's
what
tough.
happens with that.
How much of the and then one last thing before Anth calls us out here, how much do you focus on like the combine or college and then like the draft coming up? Like, are you actively talking about a lot of that, or is it just you're focusing on the major sports that are in season at the time?
Yeah, major sports that are in season at the time, but obviously the NFL draft, the combine is very big. So I think going this year, the fact that the Grid Network is up, I think I want to have some show that's going to just cover just the combine and the draft itself for the Grid. That's great content for the Grid.
Yep.
I think that would be a good idea to get everybody on that.
Well, we need you guys to do that so we can watch it, so we have something to talk about here, because we're trying to get that stronger in our game, learn a little bit more about the prospects coming into this year, minus the 25 to 30 that you hear about in the first round. It just can feel a little bit overwhelming, the college game.
Man. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot, man. Me, Bryson, and Mike Guido, we do the NBA draft every year. So we're thinking about doing the NFL draft this year too, but we're gonna, do that on the grid. So, we'll see. I think, because people love the draft, no matter what kind of, whether it's baseball or football or basketball, people love the draft. They love investing in young kids and seeing what the potential is. So there's always room for content there. So definitely gonna throw some stuff around and see what sticks.
All right, well, Barry from the All Even podcast and the Grid Sports Network, man, it's always a pleasure having you on, and we always have a good chat talking about the boys here and your thoughts on Dak. It sucks that the season's over, but we'll just have to get through it. For the bandwagon boys over there and your boy Anthbest over here, I just hope the 49ers and Eagles both lose somehow this weekend. we out.
Cancel. Another canceled.
First tie, and just cancel it.
Yeah, first canceled game.
Peace.
Peace.
Boom.